There's a cancer in American communities, a thriving organization of illicit drug dealing. In cities across the nation, the consequences of this underground drug market are clear and shocking.
The impact of the use of illicit drugs impacts every corner of American life, whether it's in failed education, failed home life, lower productivity, lower defense capability, violent crime. I can just go on and on. It has a tremendous impact on every phase of our life as we've known it in this country, and it has to be recognized and it has to be addressed.
90% of all illegal drugs consumed in the United States are produced in foreign countries. Narcotics trafficking has infiltrated every corner of the world and ushered in a worldwide epidemic of drug abuse. In late 1983, the chairman of the United States Senate Drug Enforcement Caucus, Florida Senator Paula Hawkins, organized a delegation to investigate this global problem. Along with South Dakota Senator Jim Abner and other federal drug enforcement officials, Senator Hawkins embarked on a mission that would establish narcotics control as a priority in American foreign policy. The delegation studied the drug control efforts of foreign countries and urged foreign governments to cooperate in uprooting the drug industry. The delegation went to the very sources of America's narcotics problem: Turkey, Pakistan, Thailand, and Burma. These are the countries most critical to the trafficking industry. Within their borders, opium is cultivated and refined into heroin, then smuggled into countries around the world where it's made available to anyone who's willing to pay for it. Before traveling to the source countries, the delegation first stopped in Vienna, Austria, the home of the United Nations Drug Abuse and Narcotics Agencies. Here at the Vienna International Center, Senator Hawkins was briefed on worldwide efforts to dismantle the trafficking industry and informed that not all countries are signatory to major UN drug treaties. Some countries simply don't have the financial backing to support drug programs. Japan, West Germany, and the United States are major contributors to the United Nations Fund for Drug Abuse Control. Since all nations stand to benefit from the drug control programs established in lesser developed countries, Senator Hawkins recommends that the United States encourage all developed nations to help shoulder the cost for such programs. In the past, United Nations programs have concentrated on eradicating poppy fields and interdicting smugglers. In Vienna, the director of the United Nations Division of Narcotics Drugs, Mrs. Tamara Oppenheimer, focused on another approach, entirely eliminating the market for illegal drugs.
And the obvious targets for the trade are Western Europe and Northern America. And the question of prevention is, I think, crucial in that it is not enough to interdict the traffic. The societies must have a built-in resistance to the traffickers if this is going to be, if this war is ever going to be won.
The United States Senate and Congress has taken unusual actions this year by unanimously adopting almost every measure that's come before us to do with illicit drugs. We have voted unanimously in the Senate to deny foreign aid to any country involved in illicit drugs that does not have an active eradication plan in effect on paper and working. This denial of aid will be from the United States as well as multilateral banks, and it has to be certified by the President and the Congress as being in effect and working in order to get this aid. We think that's a landmark.
In addition to the Hawkins Amendment, the United States Senate repealed an act that bans the spraying of the herbicide paraquat. It also passed the Posse Comitatus Law, which permits the armed forces to interdict drug traffickers, and it bolstered drug rehabilitation and prevention programs with new funds. This recent legislation gives American law enforcement agencies new leverage against traffickers. Senator Hawkins explained how that leverage is being put to the test in her home state of Florida.
Florida was overtaken, as you know, by its proximity to the origin countries in Latin America, and this president organized a task force that through Senate action again that allows the military to cooperate with all law enforcement agencies, which is a unique new law of the United States. We now have the Coast Guard and the Navy and the Army and the Marines and all law enforcement working together, Drug Enforcement Agency, the Customs. We use their aircraft. We use it AWACS is stationed over Miami, for instance, that sees far and wide.
Traffickers are losing ground in Miami, but they're simply rerouting and infiltrating new areas. The major entry points for smuggled Southwest Asian heroin are moving up America's East Coast. A comparison of heroin-related crime from 1977 to 1981 indicates a greatly deteriorating situation in Boston, Philadelphia, New York City, and in the nation's capital. Narcotics trafficking was so rampant on Manhattan's Lower East Side that in late 1983, authorities launched Operation Pressure Point, a crackdown on the heroin dealers and users concentrated in that district. Stepped-up undercover police work and the addition of 175 uniformed and mounted police officers resulted in nearly 2,000 narcotics-related arrests and reduced the Lower East Side's crime rate by 40%. But authorities say if they loosen their grip, the dealers will move right back in.
That as long as the federal government cannot stop the drugs from crossing our borders, and we're powerless at the local level to do that, essentially we wind up trying to chase the drugs that comes in and from here to there and back again. We try, but if they can stop it, that has a bigger impact.
UN agencies in Vienna are developing and coordinating international drug control programs. They have on hand a vast library of information on trafficking activity and drug control programs. The UN Division of Narcotic Drugs has assembled drug analysis kits for field testing narcotics. These kits are designed to accommodate the specific needs of different countries and are distributed free of charge at the request of national governments. While in Vienna, UN officials briefed the delegation on the political, economical, and cultural situations of the countries the delegation would be visiting. The first country was Turkey. At one time a major narcotics producer, it was the bumper Turkish opium crop that exploited the United States as a major market for heroin in the late 1960s. The Turkish-French connection was supplying 80% of the heroin available in the United States. In 1972, Turkish officials completely banned opium production throughout their country. That ban has since been lifted, and the Turkish government has been successful in restricting opium production to licensed areas.
Also in Turkey, met with the new Prime Minister Özal and got a commitment that he would continue his country's dedication to having zero drug trafficking in his nation. We all should follow Turkey's example.
Because the Turkish underground now specializes in the transit aspect of the drug business, there are more drugs available on the streets. Prime Minister Turgut Özal says drug abuse is becoming a major problem.
Its use in Turkey is also increased. Normally, we have a much lower use, drug use in Turkey, much lower compared to the other countries.
But Turkey faces another problem that many other South Asian countries face. Its customs and investigative officers lack up-to-date enforcement training.
So all the countries wanted drug enforcement agents from our country. They're better trained, and most countries requested help from customs. So we're more than willing to cooperate with these countries.
The delegation then went to Pakistan to encourage its government to pass new legislation that would control opium production. Together, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran form the Golden Crescent region of Southeast Asia. In 1978, this region supplied only 3% of the heroin smuggled across American borders. Since 1980, however, this region has been supplying 50% of that heroin. Heroin addiction in Pakistan has increased from virtually none in 1980 to an estimated 100,000 today.
So once a country suddenly experiences their own young people being addicted to the drug they have been shipping, it seems like the importance of the illicit drug use changes. And we found great reception with the leaders of each country that we visited on our trip to be very warm and sympathetic, and what can we do together to stop the problem.
Pakistan's greatest narcotics problem is here in a province called the Northwest Frontier. Senators Hawkins and Abner explored Pakistan's northwest frontier by helicopter. In the seclusion of these hills, countless makeshift laboratories are transforming poppies into opium gum, which is then refined into heroin. In 1981, the Pakistani government prohibited poppy cultivation in areas where it could enforce such a ban. The more remote areas were difficult to patrol. The delegation visited an experimental area called the Gadoon Project, where authorities are testing enforcement of the poppy ban in a more remote region. After a brief hike to the development area, Senator Hawkins met with local farmers and was briefed on the logistics of the project. During conferences with the delegation, Pakistani officials agreed to seize any heroin refineries pinpointed by U.S. agencies.
But if someone were to find one, like our DE agents were to tell you there's a laboratory in your area, and then you're the man they can see, and you shut it down, you take the local police and shut it down.
In addition, they agreed to funnel more money and manpower into their border security system. But it was the meeting with Pakistan's President Zia that produced the greatest results.
We were very successful in getting President Zia to sign a very tough law there that even provides for the death penalty for the drug traffickers. I've been after that for a couple of years.
The delegation then penetrated the Golden Triangle of Southeast Asia, the region where opium production is most intense. The first country was Thailand. To the north of Thailand are the opium fields and heroin refineries of Burma. To the south are the seaports of Singapore and Malaysia. Northern Thailand is mountainous country, smothered in dense forest. Some 400,000 people are settled throughout this region. Unhampered by authorities, these people have nurtured a centuries-old culture based on the production and transit of opium. Senators Hawkins and Abner met with Thai officials to talk about the Thai link in the trafficking business. The authorities believe that the only permanent solution to their drug problem is a long-term program that would replace opium crops with cash crops. The delegation made a field trip to a mountain village north of Chiang Mai, Thailand, where a United Nations crop substitution program is employed. It's the most extensive effort of its kind in Thailand.
You used to raise opium. This is the largest opium area in the country, right?
Yes.
And what happened?
And now, you know, when they have a project to grow to change the opium to coffee. So now most of we grow coffee.
Your uncle said this would be a better thing to do?
Yeah, he also said this is better way instead of opium.
Well, this gentleman, he said that he makes more money from coffee.
In coffee
Much more than
opium.
Smuggling expeditions are masterminded by expert traffickers who are commonly aligned with insurgent groups. The most notorious, the Shan United Army, is responsible for 80% of the narcotics smuggled across Thai borders. Beyond the control of both the Burmese and Thai governments, this area has become sort of a no man's land. The Thai-Burmese border is indistinguishable in this mountainous terrain. But there are marked differences between the governments, and the Shan United Army is a major source of their conflict.
These warlords or drug lords, they're the same, have always managed the borders there between Burma and Thailand. And the Burmese chase the warlord, they say, over into Thailand. The Thailand chase them back into Burma. And the profits, of course, that are made from the sale of the illicit drugs by the Shan United Army are used for domestic revolt and to continue agitate the government in control. The Burmese don't like it at all, and I must take my hat off to the Burmese. Their leadership says that they have spent so much money and lose about 100 lives a month in chasing these rebels that are drug lords out of their country. I think if Thailand and Burma could get together, that they could, catch them on the border rather than just chasing back and forth. Obviously, they have so much money, these warlords and drug kings, that they can buy off protection in each side of the countries. And that has to stop. They have to have the commitment to work together to crush them.
Smaller than the state of Texas, but the largest country on the Southeast Asian mainland, the Socialist Republic of the Union of Burma represents a major share of opium products here in the Golden Triangle. A unique combination of temperature, humidity, cloud cover, and rainfall make this country ideal for poppy cultivation. The Burmese, aware of that, have taken steps with the United States that in 1974 created the International Narcotics Control Program. During the past 10 years, the Burmese government has enacted a series of strict drug laws and initiated attacks against every facet of the drug smuggling business. But the Burmese government is up against a powerful and deeply entrenched insurgent organization. Like the Thai, the Burmese reject herbicidal spraying as a method of eradication. Farmers there are afraid the sprays would kill cash crops along with the opium. But the Burmese government hasn't ruled out the idea.
They do have a terrible problem on their border, but they said as soon as we got the environmental impact studies back on the spraying of paraquat, that they would be very interested in spraying that Shan territory up on the borders to eradicate their crop.
The last stop was Hong Kong. On a domestic level, Hong Kong's confrontation with drug abuse has been unusually successful. In 1972, the government delegated the responsibility of controlling illegal drugs to an independent narcotics commission. That commission pioneered a comprehensive program of education and rehabilitation.
Hong Kong has the best education program I've ever seen, and I think that we should copy that program. They use primetime television by law every night to explain why you shouldn't be addicted to drugs. And if you are, please call this number and we will rehabilitate you. They take those that turn themselves in away to an island. They take them away from their neighbors and away from their little leagues that they run in, and we have a wonderful rehabilitation record. The United States could copy that. All nations could copy that.
The Hong Kong Commission's creative use of multimedia mass communication systems is credited with reducing the number of domestic heroin addicts from 100,000 to 30,000 in only 10 years.
But in this country, we're going to have to do a better job and at a much younger age, and it needs to be primetime television. I think the television and the media have not accepted their full share of the blame by not spreading the word, don't touch the stuff, and if you are on it, please turn yourself in.
The world is fighting a common enemy, a syndicate that wields the force of powerful armies, criminals that conspire and coordinate their corruption of the world. Federal legislation recently passed links drug control to foreign aid. In passing that legislation, America has told the world, we won't ask for your cooperation, we insist on it.
We're more than willing to cooperate with these countries to eradicate an evil that is going to cripple an entire generation and will manifest itself by poor national defense, by failed education, and a continual breakup of homes and a rising crime rate, which is directly related to the use of illicit drugs.